Sorry.
No worries.
Hi, Jason. My name's Kenneth. I'm going to be conducting your interview today. To get it started, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So nice to meet you. My name is Jason. I'm a recent graduate from the College of Social Work at University of Kentucky. I've majored in social work, but I've also taken Spanish classes while at UK. And my hope is to become fluent while I'm working at the cabinet. I have had an interest in child welfare since starting UK and since starting the CW Prep program, which is the Child Welfare Preparation Program, which has given me a lot of relevant skills for this position and so many opportunities, especially while networking and networking to other cabinet members across the different counties of Kentucky. And while we're on the topic of counties, I've had my two practicums at the Fayette Cabinet for Health and Family Services building. While not working at the practicum, I have also been employed with a team called hashtag I Can End the Trend. And that is a team where we talk with students about the general impacts of vaping use. And I've enjoyed working with my team. I've worked with students and faculty. I've been to conferences and talked at conferences. And I've also conducted research. And honestly, a highlight is getting to talk with legislators in our state. I got to talk with Senator Higdon, talking about um, um, tobacco-related policy, and that was a huge highlight. But I'm very excited for a lot of aspects of this job. I'm especially excited to learn more about working with like younger youth, like infants, any youth younger than fourth grade level, because that's where I worked with students at Icon and the Trend, and especially working with family dynamics and a bit about what I like to do with self-care. I like going rock climbing. I like exercising, and I like drawing. So that's just a lot about me. But I'm excited to also learn more about this position too.
Excellent. Um, so you told me quite a bit about yourself and your experience and what you like to do, but why don't you tell me about what do you think your biggest weakness is?
Mm, that's a good question. Um, I would have to say my biggest weakness would be I ask a lot of questions, especially if I'm like not understanding an assignment or a task or anything in my role. And I like to understand like all of it, how to do it, why it needs to be done a certain way. And I know in the past that my asking questions could be time consuming for people who I'm shadowing or people who are my supervisors. But I find a lot of value in my work, and I set really high expectations for myself and the work I create. And so a solution to this I found is communicating with who I am working with, whether it be a supervisor. Or who I'm shadowing. And thankfully, that has helped with my understanding and their understanding of my needs. So I think that really helps with that issue.
Cool. Um, so why don't you tell me about a time one of the clients at your workplace or at your practicum was upset and how you handled that problem?
That's a good question. So my current practicum is at the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, specifically to the Division for Protection and Permanency. And so you may be aware, but especially with the investigations team, which is the team I'm currently a practicum student at, um, clients are not particularly happy when their business is invaded or their family, but like the stuff with their family. And I feel like that's completely natural and protective, and it can be concerning if not. I can recall a few times where I've observed out in the field with my supervisor, and a client is not happy with her or I. And if I can give a specific example, let's see. There was a time that occurred where I and my supervisor, we were working with a family, specifically a dad, and dad did not speak English, so it required a translator. And it was a situation where the child was educationally neglected. And so the supervisor presented the prevention plan and possible services. And eventually, even though this client was initially like resisting these services, my supervisor was able to meet with him where he was and was very patient, especially with the needs of the interpreter. And she was very clear how she appreciated that he was protective of his child. And she was on the family side in this case, and she did not want his child to be taken away. And so, given that patience and explanation, he was eventually more accepting of receiving help from the cabinet. And so, in that situation, I would want to follow a similar example. And while respecting my client's rights, I want to give them the time and space to meet them where they are and work with them.
Excellent. Let's see. So you talked a little bit about self-care earlier. Um, Self-care in social work is a constantly reoccurring theme throughout the course of our education, and it's something that's important that we address throughout our careers. Tell me a little more about how you like to manage the work-life balance, and specifically a little more detail about what you engage in for self-care.
That's a really good question. I really enjoy my self-care and I put a lot of priority in it. I mentioned like the exercising and rock climbing. I try to set my days uh, to where I can uh, do those exercising. It's really helpful for my brain, especially just to keep moving. But I'm also really flexible with my schedule because I know sometimes it's just not going to work out. One thing though that I've really set like a priority for myself is therapy. I try to ensure in this practicum that I don't miss my therapy sessions. And while obviously if there's an emergency, exceptions can be made, and my therapist understands my situation. By setting that precedent with myself, it has been very helpful for my mental health, and I ensure um, that self care that works for me works.
Excellent. So we got one last question. It's a little out there, but if you could fast forward to the last day of your career, where do you see yourself?
That's a really good question. And honestly, a hard one. Social work is so broad, and it's just really nice that you could essentially do anything with this field. So it's really hard to actually like pinpoint where I would want to be. Like for example, I know it like if I decided one day working in the Division for Protection and Permanency does not work for me, since I have experience with tobacco related issues, the cabinet also has a tobacco prevention like department as well, and I could even apply for there, especially since I have the necessary experiences and will. Um, so it's honestly really hard to say where I will be. I think being a so not even a social work student, even working in the field, being in social work makes you a student. Like it's a lifelong like journey in education and learning people and different departments and divisions. I can't say exactly where I'll end up being, but I hope and expect that I will still be learning in the future.
Excellent. Outstanding.
All right, I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much for coming in.